Hello, good afternoon. Thanks GMGC for letting me talk about Mexico's industry to you. It's a pleasure and I am very happy to have this opportunity. I know there are many Chinese companies or even from all over the world that are interested in Latin American markets because of the high growth that of its potential. And I want to present you more about the industry, like an inside look about what is happening in Mexico's industry. So let's quickly review about the Newzoo reports to get you in context. Mexico is the second largest market in Latin America, a little smaller than Brazil, but with half the population. It's an estimated $1.2 billion in revenue, and we are the 13th largest market in the world for video games. Mexico has a 62% people paying for games, and well, here I checked about the number of video gamers. I have a new statistic, and as you can see, 64.8 million video gamers are more than the online people. So that has an explanation. People in Mexico mostly are under the 20 years of age, and they use prepaid cards to pay for games. People above 31 years old, they prefer to pay with debit and credit cards. Mobile phone is the most used device to play games. Here, it's a division about how we define the hardcore players from the casual players. So those who play for free or waits before buying a game, those are the casual players, and those who buys immediately or on pre-sale, they are the hardcore players. And it doesn't matter the age of these gamers. Casual players prefer strategy games, sports, and adventure, and hardcore players prefer RPG, action, and adventure. Talking about sports, Mexico prefers soccer, of course, and also fighting games. But Mexico is not only Latin America. Because of our geography, we are part of North America, and we are very related in so many ways. 1/5 of the population of the United States speaks Spanish and has a lot of roots with Latin American people. We, as Mexico, have been influenced by them for media, for entertainment, and also for video games. Our consumption trends are very similar, and as much as whatever they play, we play, or we can also influence a lot to them. Here is a graphic that I want to spend a little more time in it. It's about Mexico video games population. As I told you, there are almost 65 million players, and it's interesting for me to see that since 1985, there were already 2 million people playing games, right? 2% of the population by that time. And it was because as soon as in the United States was launched a console or a game, they get smuggled into Mexico, even when there was no retail associations to get games into Mexico. It is normal for Mexican people to go to the United States, buy things, and get them and sell them into Mexico. So video games got a very deep root since the beginning. As the years come, arcade games were also very popular. That's because they have a very cheap price. They are just tokens, right? So I even remember when I was a kid, or any Mexican, I think, when your mom sends you to buy bread to the store, you keep the change and you use it in the arcade games, right? So there are so many video gamers in Mexico because of that. Even now, you can still see arcade machines in some rural areas where there is no internet yet, but they are playing video games. Then when the portable consoles came and with the launch of the Sony PlayStation, it got a lot of boost because it was much more easier to pirate content and to also sell it in the gray market. This was very, very important too also because even if it was illegal, game companies or game consoles were allowing it a little because it works for a marketing strategy, right? People get to know the games, people get to know the brands, and they become loyal to them. You could find, or you can still find in Mexico, a lot of pirated games, but not for free. They sell you in a CD-ROM for $1, $2, a collection of games, right? Even if in the subway you can go walking and there is somebody selling you video games for $2. So that's sometimes pocket change that people spend into it. And then, well, the proliferation of devices, thanks to smartphones, have let the population of video gamers grow a lot. These are the key factors that created a lot of gamers into Mexico. Arcades, magazines who created a community, the gray market, smuggling consoles and video games, and the piracy. I want to tell you about the insights of Mexico games industry. About talent, we are graduating 100,000 engineers every year, which are working for American software companies and also for Mexican ones. We are also influencing a lot to the world thanks to our creative industry, which grew 40% last year. And there are several, let's say, several tools that the government is giving to Mexico, to the Mexican people, to start working into the digital economy. Now, about promotion organizations, there is ProMéxico. ProMéxico is an office from the government that is working to create relations between foreign companies with Mexican companies. They have an office here in Beijing, and they will get you in contact with any company in Mexico if you want to start making business there. There is the CANIETI, which is the Chamber of Technology, and it has all the technology companies. It represents all technology companies with the government and pushes to make things work. And the Entertainment Software Association, which last year organized the first national video game contest, which had around 150 games presented. There's also very important, a lot of communities. These are three of the main ones. Campus Party is held every year, and it's amazing. You can see in big venues like this, 3,000 people sleeping, camping with computers, playing video games during 3 nights, playing video games, making robots, etc. Startup Weekend, which happens like I think every week in different cities. They promote technology companies too, and many of them are creating video games. And the Global Game Jam, which last January organized around 20, well, it had 20 venues in 13 cities, also getting around 1,500 developers participating. These are the international companies that have presence in Mexico. As you can see, they are big corporations, and they are not there just because they want to have presence. They are there because there is a big business happening in Mexico. Quickly, I want to give some companies facts. We have around 150 companies creating 800 jobs. I have met many companies here that you are the size of the whole Mexican companies, but well, and well, Mexico City concentrates 45% of those companies. Here, how do I turn this? Well, it doesn't looks. But in the West Coast, there are many companies that are working there because it has a very straight connection with California, with Silicon Valley. So there are a lot of engineers that are working together in the same time frame and exchanging information and work. How does Mexican companies survive? 32% of them have less than 2 years. They are startups. Sorry. And well, most of them, 77%, have less than 10 members. As you can see, it is just starting to create, it is starting to become a formal industry. Most of them have these activities into their everyday. The most popular things for Mexican is to create games, is to have the original content or to present the ideas for the video games. What they don't like, as you can see, are the business-related things, right? The administration, the production, the distribution, the legal things. Mexicans are creative. Mexicans are developing good games, but they don't know how to make them a business and continue to grow. Quickly, costs of projects, 79% of them cost less than $30,000. I think it's cheap to develop games in Mexico because they are original content. About revenues, well, 66% of them just makes below $6,000. As I told you, we are creatives. Mexican companies still don't know how to make a business out of it. And well, the financial situation for them at the end of the second quarter of 2015 was that 63% have black numbers and 37% of them are in red numbers. Famous examples of Mexican video games are Taco Master, which for a couple of weeks took the first position in the App Store when it was Angry Birds that #1. And I don't know if you have heard about Kerbal, a space program, is the favorite game of Elon Musk. It's also developed by a Mexican company. I don't want to leave without giving you some opportunities and insights that we can see. I think Chinese companies are very good making business. They are very good detecting which are the key activities or which are the key performance things that can make a game succeed. I think that it's important to make a good cooperation, getting closer to Mexican companies, I think. There is the talent and they lack the experience. I think Chinese companies can have a cross-relation with Mexican ones to learn more about the market and be creative. I know you'll want to be creative. And well, there's also microtransactions. Microtransactions are very important in China. They are very important in Mexico too, but right now the market doesn't present that in reality. Google Play only accepts credit cards, and most of the people in Latin America, in Mexico, doesn't have credit cards. And as I told you about the Mexican video game history, people go with games, they pay for them if they are cheap enough. That's the reason of video arcades machines, right? Lower prices. That's succeed because of the piracy to sell CD-ROMs full of games for a couple of dollars. People pay for it. And well, I am from Naranya. We are a mobile internet company that we develop and operate technology platforms for the mobile industry. We create services for the Latin American market. If you want to contact me, I can also send you this presentation. Just scan my WeChat or send me an email. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, here.